For our Capital 10X interview series, we're very happy to have Galen McNamara, CEO of Summa Silver, with us. Hey Galen, how are you?
Hi Dwayne, I'm pretty good. Thanks for having me on the show, and how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. We're glad to have you join us. So Galen, could you give us a quick overview of your assets?
Yeah, can do for sure. So we've got two high-grade silver projects in the western United States, and both of these places are in historic mining districts. And well, why is that important? Well, these places were prolific past producers in their time 100 plus years ago, but they haven't seen any modern exploration, and that's where we step in. So when we come into these places, and one project's in Nevada and one project's in New Mexico, when we come into these places and apply a modern focus, you find that there's often a lot of, to use a cliche, juice left to squeeze.
Could you provide investors with a bit of your background about your team and their experience in the mining industry?
Sure. So, team-wide, I think it's safe to say we're a group of mid-career mining people, mostly exploration geologists, that have had a lot of success in the past and now want to have more success out on our own. So just I introduce myself briefly. I'm a geologist going back about 15 years. Before founding Summa, I spent 3 or 4 years managing the drilling for Next Gen Energy up in Saskatchewan, where we made some large uranium discoveries. But outside of that, it's kind of funny. That's really my only uranium job. I've always been a precious metals focused geologist all over Canada, a little bit in South America, and now the United States.
So in a recent Fraser Institute survey, your mining peers ranked Nevada, where some of your key assets are located, as the most attractive region globally for mining. Can you tell us about some of the key benefits of operating in Nevada?
Yeah, Nevada's a great place. It always ranks in the top 3 for investor attractiveness, or whatever that metric is with the Fraser Institute. Every year it's in the top 3, and this year it's back on top. So the nice thing about it is that, access to professionals like, geologists, access to drillers, is very good, and there's just a really well-established mining culture is the wrong term, but support businesses that people know how to drill. It's easy, not easy, but it's you can get rigs, you can get drillers, you can get geologists. Permitting is relatively straightforward, so it's open for business in terms of mining in Nevada.
Galen, how is New Mexico, another operational area for Summa, compared to Nevada in terms of similarities and differences?
Yeah, you know what, Dwayne? I get that question a lot. So what a lot of people don't know is that New Mexico has a very deep and rich mining history. Going back probably to the mid-1800s. And just around our project, within 100 kilometers away, there's a permitted underground silver and gold mine that's just currently on care and maintenance, but fully permitted. There's also 2 large open-pit copper mines that are run by Freeport down near Silver City, which is, again, about an hour drive away. So it's a little bit... New Mexico, I like to say, is, not that many people really know it, especially from a mining perspective, but it has a very rich history.
You believe the Mongollon district in New Mexico could be one of the great remaining vein fields left in the United States. Tell us the history of the asset and what you see there that's getting you so excited.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. So this area was discovered in the 1880s by a guy in the U.S. Cavalry, and he kept it secret until he got out of the military and went back there and staked claims with his brothers and started mining. Produced between the 1880s and 1942, and production only shut down in 1942 because that's when the U.S. went into World War II. So all silver and gold mining in the United States stopped by law. Between then and the 1970s, not too much happened. In a lot of these old places, one family will own this little claim, or another guy's grandpa will own that little claim, and putting it all together can be very difficult. But that was done in the 70s by a really well-known geologist named John Livermore. He was the guy who discovered some of the big gold deposits in Nevada for Newmont in the 1960s. So he really liked it. He put it all together, him and his partners, and then he drilled it out of his own pocket, where he paid for a lot of the drilling himself. It had a lot of great results, and that's the work that we're following up on now. It used to be in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. People were really looking for the big open pit deposits, that you could make a big open pit, and they weren't really interested in these high-grade vein deposits that you mine from underground. But now, of course, there's been a real return to these places because they're all, like I was saying before, there's a lot of juice left to squeeze here, and we're just finding that out now, and I think just beginning to scratch the surface.
What specific operational results is your team looking forward to over the next 12 months?
You know what? For us, it's really just drilling on both of these projects, and again, continuing to try to define what could be remaining. You know, especially in New Mexico, and we'll be back there drilling in the fall. Especially in New Mexico, our first focus was on about half a kilometer of vein. Well, there's 50 kilometers of vein and prospective structure on the project, you know, some of which has some old mines on it, sure, but I mean, no real modern exploration. So we've got a lot of work to do, but therein lies the big picture opportunity in that, you know, we're looking for something that could be really big. We think we're onto it, but we need to define that with a lot of work.
Galen, what are you hoping to find with your Hughes project? And can you take us through this helpful slide comparing Tonopah District in Nevada to other prolific districts with similar geology?
Yeah, so when I first started working on this project and put the company together, and I was thinking to myself, am I going to do this, yes or no? Because our first project was the Hughes project. You know, I thought, okay, well, how does this Tonopah area, where the Hughes project is, compare to some of the famous Mexican places, mining districts, that the Spanish mine going back like 500 years? Well, Hughes produced over a length, if you're imagining a map, over a length of about 4 kilometers and 175 million ounces of silver. If you compare that to the famous Mexican districts like the Guanajuatos or the Sandy Masses of the world, you know, they produced over a much larger strike length, I think anywhere from 7 to 18 kilometers, and many more ounces. Like a couple of these places produced, you know, well over 1 billion ounces of silver, so well over 5 times the amount. Well, if you take Tonopah at 4 kilometers and add, you know, let it add, say, a kilometer and a half onto it, which is where we're starting to hit at one of our new discoveries called Ruby, and even let it run, well, it fits in quite nicely with how big these districts can get when they get to be truly, truly world-class.
Besides the milestones you just mentioned, are there any other key catalysts you think will bring new attention to Summa?
You know what? For us, you know, I'm trying to concentrate on what we can control, and that's execution at site. But I mean, think about the macro picture and precious metals in general, and you know why. I mean, me personally, why I want to own precious metals, and maybe why investors do too. You know, look at everything that's going on in the world right now in terms of instability, with, you know, wars, with debt ceiling, you know, disputes, or debt ceiling, call them discussions between Democrats and Republicans, interest rate issues. For me, I just want to have a good chunk of my, or maybe not a good chunk, but a bit of my net worth in precious metals as a hedge against all these things like inflation and instability and things like that.
Those are some great insights. Thanks, Galen.
Well, thanks very much, Dwayne. Thanks for having me on.